Disclaimer. Some of the views, beliefs, and ideas that I hold in this video, I do not anymore. If you want my current beliefs, views, and ideas, which I do hold right now, check out my other socials in the description down below. Welcome to the JTF Show Podcast. Now, here's your host, JTF. Sorry. They're not advocating for that. Oh, he means puberty blockers, which is not that. BLM is not a terrorist organization, it's more so of a Marxist organization. Not Marxist revolutionist, I think more so Marxist economic organization. But the movement is okay, but I don't even think that Michael Knowles thinks that the movement is okay as well. He just does not like BLM in general. But yet he will most likely like Proud Boys. Okay. That makes sense. Actually, that does make sense. But I don't know. Okay, I'm not gonna put words in Michael Knowles' mouth. Unless if I'm pretty much telling you what he pretty much is saying. It just depends. Let's continue. Subsidies for and now they're experimenting on little babies. Well, and Liz Cheney says that's great. That's what I'm not. How does she even say that? Just because she's not voting for Trump? Well, she's not voting for transphobia, which Trump did do. Racism, which during the presidency of Trump, we had stuff like Charlottesville and other things. Let's see, death? Yeah, there was a lot of death, especially anti-Semitic deaths in Trump's presidency, in the 4 years of Trump. So that happened. A lot of other things happened. So, yeah, voting for Trump is a good thing. Not voting for Trump, at least according to Michael Knowles, is worse. No, I don't think so. I don't know. Yeah, okay. I would rather support that than pretty much a fascist dictatorship. So you would rather a radical leftist than a fascist dictator, which, who wouldn't? I mean, I'm just saying. Vote for the orange man. Why? Because I guess she hates him, and she's going to make her pride an idol. Yes, that is what's happening. Somehow that makes sense. Somehow she is doing that. Maybe she's just a Republican that's smarter and more moral. Let's be real here. I mean, let's be real. If you want to vote for Trump, you're voting for immorality. I'm just saying, you're voting for immoral policies in a lot of cases. Some of them might have been good. Again, Trump did do some good things, but that does not mean that he's a good person. He's going to vote more on the basis of her pride than any. Yes, it's her pride. Definitely not conscience or morality, but it's pride. Yeah, it's quote unquote. Or because she doesn't actually care about it. She's going to make her pride an idol, and she's going to vote more on the basis of her pride than any principle or anything good for the country. Again, how he does this is kind of very fascistic. Or because she doesn't actually care about any of that stuff. Or because she's just what I've called on the show a court jester conservative. She is a liberal who sort of pretends to be a conservative on certain minor issues, and in so doing legitimizes the dominant liberal regime. Either way, really bad stuff that this woman has a position in GOP leadership. Definitely not Marjorie Taylor Greene. Liz Cheney is the real enemy. Yeah, quote unquote. Amazon is pulling another book off its shelves. Only a matter of time before Amazon pulls my book. I think it's Monday at this point. Ryan Anderson's hilariously titled book, When Harry Became Sally, responding to the transgender moment. That was pulled off of Amazon very quietly. Amazon didn't really give an answer as to why that was done. The reason why it was done is because, if I'm correct, it was, I don't know if it was transphobic, but it was kind of like the 1619 Project. It wasn't right, pretty much. If I'm correct. I don't know the book. I tried to find the book. It's kind of hard to find it. Because I generally want to know the problems within it. I mean, there's most likely book reviews of it when Harry became Sally, so. Yeah, but if I'm correct, it was kind of, if I'm correct, it might have been there is really no such thing as transgenderism. That's not an ideology, that's an identity, in a sense of a way. But again, let's continue.
The reason for that, we all realize, is because the book presents a very sober case to challenge the dominant leftist narrative on sex and the leftist religious theory.
Yes, the leftist okay.
On human nature, which is now Gnostic dualism.
On human nature, like human nature means you're not supposed to be trans. That is what Michael Knowles is saying. He's against trans people, wholeheartedly, and it gets worse. Trust me.
The idea that my body has nothing to do with who I really am. There's another book on the same issue. Desist, detrans, and detox, getting your child out of the gender cult by Ur-Fascism.
Yeah, I think that one should be taken out as well. that just the whole title. I don't judge a book by its cover or title, but sometimes you can. Like if there was, "Don't Let Your Kids Watch VeggieTales," is the fascist manifesto. That book should be kicked out in a sense of a way. Like some books should not just be in the public square of the internet. But again, that's case by case. I mean, there's a lot of debates with cancel culture and tech companies, especially with there's one channel like Hippy Dippy or Modern Day Debate. They really do have debates with that. Well, more so Hippy Dippy, less so Modern Day. But those are debate channels I think you guys should check out. Not really a shout out, but just check them out. They're early ones, their later ones, their previous ones, I just said that. But to really understand how these ideas are debated, one is a little bit more functional. Well, I wouldn't say functional, but pretty much they're pretty good debate channels and other debate channels in general.
So while we're plugging books, I guess I have to read her book, because if it's considered that dangerous by the liberal regime, it's probably a pretty good book.
Is it, though? I mean, just because, I guess you could say, your enemy is saying that this is bad doesn't mean that it's the opposite of bad for you. Maybe the quote-unquote leftist liberal regime has a point of this book not being on Amazon. I don't know. Even if I tried to find that book, even if I read it, I'll be like, yeah, maybe, I don't know. But again, let's continue.
Amazon is not the government.
But it is a company. If I'm correct, a private company, so it can do this.
So you're going to hear some squishes, some court-jester conservatives.
Yeah, squishes are pretty much people who, to him, are weak conservatives or weak Republicans, or Republicans who dare to not vote for Trump. They're the squishies, or something like that.
Say, hey, Amazon's a private company. Build your own Amazon. Yeah, they're responsible for something like 80% of the books sold in the world. Yeah.
That is true, and, there's many Christian bookstores that hate your opinion, Michael Knowles, but I guess you like some of their books, maybe. I'm not saying Christians are fascist, I'm just saying that, Amazon and Christianity might not go well together in some cases. So I'm just saying.
They just dominate the marketplace. They exert a totally outsized influence on the economy. Private company, they're doing it. Come on, build your own Twitter, build your own YouTube, build your own parallel government of woke.
I mean, you have already done that with the right, Mike. You have your own weird reality anyway. You have your own parallel reality already, Mike. You're already in it. Come out of it and come to Christ.
Corporations isn't it?
It is kind of weird how Mr. McConnell used to be an ally to you, but now he's more of a squishy, or what would you say, establishmentarian.
Some people say. You can still order Mein Kampf on Amazon, but you can't order these books that are really soberly taking a look at transgenders. Right.
Yes, because that's what they're doing. They're soberly taking the idea of transgenderism, which makes no sense and could be transphobic. And maybe we shouldn't let books like that be in something like Amazon right now because of the anti-medical bills, because that's pretty much what they are, anti-trans medical care bills, which pretty much that is what it is, in, like, I think Texas or Kansas, and I think Georgia, and of course Florida came in. Yeah, we'll talk a lot more about that later in later episodes of this. But yeah, maybe it wouldn't be a good idea. Like, if somehow there was anti-black people medical like that, you wouldn't want books that would, before the canceling of medical care for particular groups, you wouldn't want that book to be out. So what Amazon did was actually pretty much justified, especially now. Again, there's anti-trans medical care bills and laws that are trying to be put in place, especially in the South, in the red states. So yeah, I'm not surprised that Amazon is like, yeah, we're not gonna let that book be on our platform anymore, or on our company. We don't want that.
The left is not threatened by Mein Kampf, right? The left is not threatened by Adolf Hitler. Actually, they benefit from keeping Hitler at top.
No, I'm sorry, you benefit. I'm just saying that it's not them. No, they hate Hitler. You hate Hitler, but you might say some similar things that Hitler said. Just saying. Yes, serious common sense arguments. Transgenderism is common sense, yes. Yeah, no, it isn't. And what is common sense? Explain to me that. We're gonna get into that later on with the other stuff, because I got a lot of common.
By the way, I'm not totally against, as I think I've made this point pretty clear, I'm not totally against some limits on speech.
Sure.
I don't think you ought to be able to defraud people. I don't think you ought to be able to engage in sedition. I don't think that you ought to
Trump?
be able to engage in fighting words. I don't think
Trump?
you should be able to engage in this thing. However,
A lot of conservatives are doing
that is a
what you are kind of doing sometimes.
separate standard, right? What we're really talking about here is not free speech versus censorship. We're talking about two competing sets of standards. Ashley Babbitt. Babbitt? What was it? She was the woman who was killed during the Capitol Hill riot. The DOJ has decided it will not seek criminal charges into the shooting of Ashley Babbitt.
Because sadly, she was with the other people who were trying to charge in and do an insurrection on the Capitol. I mean, yes, sadly, people did die. Like, what? Criminal charges for what? She and other people were charging into to the Capitol. What do you think was going to happen? I'm sorry, like, yes, lives were taken away, and that's sad, generally. But you came into the Capitol. What did you expect was going to happen? Did you actually expect you were going to secede? I'm just saying, like...
Do we believe that the officer who killed Ashley Babbitt
was justified for doing it? Well, I would say yeah, if you look at the footage. I mean, they were trying to literally claw their way in to kidnap, hang Mike Pence, and maybe kill some senators. They were trying to overthrow the government. Like, I'm sorry, like, yes, lives were lost, but criminal charges? For what? Please. Please keep justifying the insurrection. It helps me. It helps what I'm saying about you.
Probably not. Was it an excessive use of force? Maybe it wasn't.
No, it wasn't. But, of course, Dante Wright was justified, the others, the black people who were shot by police officers 10 times, that was justified, but, a person charging in the Capitol and got shot and died, no, that's bad. According to Michael Knowles, that's his track record. I mean,
they were entering into the Capitol. That's a big problem. So perhaps you can look at
perhaps he really doesn't want to say it because he's a coward. He's just gonna say perhaps.
the issue one way or the other. My only issue is we know the name of the officer who killed Dr. Wright. We know the name of the officer who killed George Floyd.
Because those were unjustified.
We don't know the name of the officer who killed Ashley.
Because that was kind of justified. There's different scenarios and situations within those events, Mike. But again, I'm not surprised. I'm not really surprised that Michael Knowles doing this. He wants a police state. So I'm thank you. I mean, it helps me.
Because it doesn't advance the narrative. It doesn't advance.
It's not about a narrative, it's about justice. I mean, there is some narratives within it, but for me, and for some leftists, and even some conservatives, it's about justice, not narrative. But of course,
Any sort of propaganda. That's the real standard.
Yes, that's the double standard. Yeah, that quote unquote. Alright, we're gonna take a little break from Michael Knowles right now, and we're gonna go into Steven Crowder. And this one is really talking about pretty much the transgender conversation in a sense of a way. And yeah, let's begin.
And then they bitch about echo chamber.
Sorry, there's gonna be some language.
Yeah. So here, let's go to Trevor Noah, a couple of claims that he makes regarding transgender athletes, males in female sports, and puberty blockers, and go through it piece by piece. Okay. And then when it comes to major issues, it comes with evidence, like climate change, or coronavirus, or gun violence. They're like, let's wait until we see more evidence. But now, there's an issue that barely even exists, and they're like, we don't got time for evidence. There's a plastic trophy instead. Now, the one thing that people making these laws always
You do the okay.
is a single story from Connecticut.
Wrong.
Years ago.
I've got
On
15.
evidence that trans kids are stealing opportunities.
Yep, 15 from 2008. Don't worry, I got Trevor Noah on this one. I got him. He's got nothing on me.
From everyone else. I think conservatives are missing the entire point of youth sports in the first place.
They are.
Because it's not really about the tiny minority of kids who will go on to get scholarships and perform at an elite level. It's not about that.
That's exactly what sports are about.
Cheating at
No, it isn't.
personal best, developing good habits, self-esteem, and learning to bully the chest.
No.
That is what it is. But of course, Crowder doesn't really understand winning. Because,
No. Sports are exactly about being the best. They're exactly about being elite and being the best. Maybe some people want some self-esteem or discipline, but the purpose for sports is to test oneself, improve oneself, and be the best. This is the issue.
it's part of it, but it's not like the fullness of it, because,
The
it isn't.
jumping off point, he doesn't understand what sports are. Because maybe he's in transition. I have no idea. It's tough to tell. So he doesn't understand what sports are about. He uses right away one of the very first logical fallacies that you learn about, right? You have the logical fallacy, the appeal to authority fallacy, the correlation is not equal causation fallacy, and this is one that I'll use Latin for you, a little bit of the Romance languages. It's called argumentum ad novitatem. I think I'm saying that correctly, but it's a fallacy.
Mm-hmm.
This is let me read the textbook definition. This fallacy is the opposite of appeal to tradition, and that it is an attempt to claim the newness or modernity Slander is of something is evidence of its truth and superiority. The novelty of the idea or proposition does not entail its truth or falsity. So he's saying there's no evidence here. Look, there's no problem. Well, look, because we haven't done it yet.
But we kind of have. Okay.
Since the beginning of America, since world history, we haven't allowed men to dominate women in sports. That was partially the basis for Title IX, right? We wanted equal opportunity with women's sports. You wouldn't need it if women were as good as men, and people actually wanted to watch women who were lower than the varsity high school team. You wouldn't have needed Title IX. Also, by the way, just to give you an example, this would be like me suggesting today a 90% income tax rate. But people go, we don't want this, we don't want, and then 6 months from now, people are still trying to repeal it, saying, this is going to be horrible, this is devastating. Me going, well, there's no evidence of bankruptcy yet because you just started it. You just started allowing men into women's sports.
Oh, he's talking about transgender people, but he's kind of transphobic, that Crowder, so yeah.
So don't try and act like you have a body of evidence.
Yeah, well, a couple of the things that he listed, it's a bad argument, but he even set it up poorly because he's listing things that there is wide debate about, right? If you believe in climate change having this gigantic effect versus having...
Most people do believe in climate change. It's kind of the conspiracy theories. At this point, it is kind of the conspiracy theories, because we know there is such thing as climate change. We just disagree on the situation or solution.
Going to play a role if it's man-made, if it's a natural cause thing, if it's both. Like, all of these things are worth discussing. And he's like, these are all terrible things that we know exist fully right now. He says
well, we do.
Conservatives want to wait for more evidence, and then he tries to imply, but in other words, he's saying, well, listen, it's climate. He's saying this climate change is settled.
It kind of is settled. Most people will be like, yeah, there is such thing as climate change.
As well as men competing in women's sports.
It's not men, though. That's the thing, Crowder. Understand. There's one of the comments here about he gets it really bad. My comment, the idea of sports is all about winning. Nothing else, but just winning. Is not what sports that's not what sports is. It used to be maybe in the old Roman days, but even then, sports is fundamentally about reaching your limits and then some. That is what sports is. Pretty much. The trophy/title belt/highest or lowest score is or the goal, not the achievement of winning. The achievement of winning is the physical representation of being usually the better team. That is usually what a trophy and title belt is. It's the physical representation that, in this case, you were the better team or the better person. On performance, you performed better, you had more points. But that's not the point. Of course you want to be the best. Who doesn't want to be the best and win? But sports is not all about winning. But I know it's hard for you to see that, Crowder, and for more or some conservatives, because you've lost most of the wars in politics, and you just want to win just one more time, but you really kind of can't, because most people are knowing and are going to know how bad some conservatives are, and even some Republicans, so, yeah. Sorry, man.
The evidence is in that there's no unfair playing field. So here's the thing. We don't have a control. What do you do in any other form of science? Because people have to throw this around. Trust the science, like it's Gaia, and they have to kneel at the altar. Science.
How? I'm just saying trust the science, like trust the history. Okay.
Is it ever evolving? Really, you can even...
Yes, it is. It is ever evolving, ever changing. But just because it's changing, it doesn't mean that you just discard science. Science helps us explain what is working and what works by that time. In, time itself, in events, in environments, it changes. But maybe the environment itself might not, but parts of the environment might change, or the environment itself might change. We do have debates about these things. But we don't just discard science like conservatives do. Like, why would you do that?
I'd say art right now, certainly, because there's a lot of finessing with science. See the World Health Organization.
Yes, that makes sense, okay.
But what you have to do, if you don't already, let's say with a medication, or you're looking at a supplement, right? Anyone out there takes supplements. You don't have the golden standard, a double-blind placebo-controlled trial. Right. You don't have it yet, but maybe some people are making claims. What do you do in that case? You make an inference from the science you have available. So I'm just using this as a...
Yes, and from the science we have available, transgender people are human, they exist, and they should and can compete in women and men's sports. That's the science that we have, but you don't trust it. Anyways.
A simple example. We don't have placebo-controlled clinical trials. What they do is go, okay, but do we have any controlled studies? Right? Okay, can we look at the meta-analysis? Can we look at sample studies? Can we compare populations? And then they frame it in, because there is usually some science available, it's not conclusive. Now, the good news here is we have both available science and conclusive evidence. He just lied about only one example. I have 50 here, and they all involve multiple world records.
What, from 2008? Or what?
In trials, not even competition. It's not even close. So what science do we have available to us, considering that we haven't done a mass experiment with women having the crap kicked out of them? Okay.
Oh, okay.
Let's look at men versus women, their hormone levels, okay? A man's average testosterone level, 300 to 1200 nanograms per deciliter. A woman, 20 to 70.
Why does that matter?
Okay, those numbers may not make, but it's about 10 times the amount. Testosterone, what does it do? This is the science, there's no doubt about this. It enhances red blood cell production, it decreases fat, it increases muscle, increases bone density, connective tissue. Men have 24 to 65% greater bone density than men. Men have higher lung capacity than women. Men have higher aerobic capacity than women. They have higher VO2 maxes. Okay? Now what?
Is that case by case, or is that absolute?
Before we get to the direct competition that they're talking about, because there are more examples in Connecticut, let's look at the world records. Men's world record 1 mile run, 3 minutes 43 seconds. The women's 4 minutes.
Also, I just noticed something. The reason why it might seem like men are doing better than women in sports is because it kind of took, if I'm correct, a long time for women to be in sports in America in general. So, yeah, men had a better standard because they started sports through the years. Finally, women could be in sports. So, actually, a lot of this might be environmental. And again, is this absolute, or is this all case by case?
12 seconds. That's an entire minute more than man's 800 freestyle swim.
Oh, and percentages change. It just depends on the environment. It depends on how far you go, and then some with sports, Crowder. But anyways, I'm not surprised that he doesn't understand that. But anyways,
7:32. Okay. Women's 7:59. Men's powerlifting squat. This is raw, by the way. 1,102 pounds. Okay, this is raw without gear. Women's 705 pounds. There's a lot more at stake here than a plastic trophy. Okay, this is something people need to understand. First off, the fundamental reason for sports is to be the best. This is the issue.
Wrong.
With social justice wokeness, this is the same root cause of people kneeling at the football game, of people saying that you better pay the WNBA players just as much as you pay LeBron James. It's them saying, well, sports aren't about who's best. It's about it being fair. It's about ensuring...
Well, it's not necessarily about being fair. It's about having at least some fair playing field. One red zone should not be closer or farther than the other one. But there's still going to be a winner. And this, like...
ensuring equal outcomes. No, football is about winning the Super Bowl.
Football is about gaining... Well, yeah, it is about winning the Super Bowl. But even if you don't win, at least you made it to the top or the playoffs. At least you went there. Because most teams don't go to the playoffs. Especially last year with the Jets. Yikes, they were terrible. But hey, at least they won one, or did they win any? I don't remember. But even then, like the Saints, they could have made it in, but they didn't. But we went so far. We could have been there. But we're not really sore losers necessarily. Again, winning is usually a representation of who was the best. But at the end of the day, it's about being better in general and then some. Because it's not always about winning. Because if you always think it's about winning, every single time that you lose, it seems like it's fraud. Fraud. It didn't work because all you were taught is to win. All that you were taught is to win. So when you lose, that doesn't make any sense, doesn't it? Trump was taught to just win. He wasn't taught to play the game right and be a good loser. Nope. Look it up. And I don't know Crowder's backstory, but maybe it was the same thing. Mine's was win or lose, have fun, play the sport, make sure you can be the best that you can be, and then some. That's sports. But anyways.
Football is about being the best team and filling the seats, okay? College sports are about winning the national title. That's what it is. And I've always said this, if you enter into the sporting arena without the intent to be the best, you're wasting your time.
No, you're not necessarily wasting your time, but you should want to be your best, if not the best. That is part of sports. I wouldn't say you're wasting your time, I'm just saying maybe you should have a better goal than to just be there. Because if you're just being there, what's the point? Maybe, you shouldn't be there, come back, and be like, I want to win, but I'm not going to be a sore loser. That's what we need.
We're not talking about recreational leagues, bowling. I don't care. You want to have men play against women in ping pong? Fine, be my guest. It's hard to tell the difference between players there anyway.
Of course it is for you.
But the issue here is, it's not just a plastic trophy. Women actually get hurt because they're...
this is one of my comments here. It's like, he does this a lot. He doesn't like women. He thinks that they're weak. And one of my comments to that was, oh my gosh, women get hurt in sports. It's like you're saying that women are always weak, so therefore we can't let trans women be in sports / women's sports because because women are always weak or weaker than men. That's Crowder's thinking and most conservatives' thinking. But an actual good, logical person would be like, yeah, women get hurt in sports, men get hurt in sports, and trans people get hurt in sports. Doesn't matter the sex or gender, people get hurt in sports. The NFL is predominantly pretty much a male sporting event. People almost die sometimes in football. Not scaring people, I'm just saying people get very serious injuries. Because that's how rough football is. And these are men. Way stronger than me, most likely way stronger than Crowder. Like, sometimes they're off the season. Sometimes they gotta heal. Like, really heal. Yeah, people do get hurt. I'm not saying that the average man, the average woman, there is a difference. The average woman is weaker than the average man. Same thing that the average woman is smarter than the average man. But if you work hard enough, you can be the smartest, or the strongest, or the best. But don't just try to be the best just for the sake of it. Be the best to improve yourself. Not just win, but win in life. A win that is good. Like giving your life to Christ. That's a good win. That's a win that's gonna keep you for all eternity.
They're not saying, hey, let's just keep it to ping pong or billiards. They're saying, once you open this, how do you say not women's contact sports? Case in point, Fallon Fox, a man who lived as a man for his entire life and fathered children, now identifies as female, shattered a woman's orbital bone. There you go. Mother must be proud. Beautiful time. By the way, nothing I'm watching watching on this screen is beautiful. So I don't know what the comment.
Of course you don't think so, because you're just looking at gender and not sports in general. But of course, anyways.
Beautiful, beautiful what?
But of course, you're not getting the full context of it, because Crowder and Context, they broke up. They broke up a long time ago.
Nothing. Not even the ring colors are beautiful. By the way, Fox was hailed as the bravest athlete in history. Oh, wow. It's like Kramer doing karate with children.
What?
That's very different. There are times when you're competing against the course or the clock.
Yeah.
Right. Or the weight. Right. You turn it into contact sports. That's another level. The first side track and field, I kind of think you're denying scholarship, so you're hurting them that way. You start to get physical. It's a whole new level.
Well, you know what's saying? You know what we do? We never in history we ever had to have this conversation before. We never had to have the conversation, are the best men better than the best women? Or
Well, I mean, we shouldn't. Or the best people the best. Well, why does it matter if it's a male or female? Because again, percentages change. Men had a better start in sports than women in America, and a lot of other things. Why does it matter with men and women? What is that? What is it?
or even the average man and average woman. You know what they do in Pee Wee football? It has weight limits. It doesn't matter if you're the right age.
Oh yes, it doesn't matter if you're the age or gender. It's more about weight. Correct? I did talked about in my last episode. It's more so about the conditions of weight, or how good your legs are, or how good your arms are, not gender. But you're making it into sex and gender. You think it's all about sex and gender, Crowder. Like,
It doesn't matter if you played for the team before. It matters how much you weigh. If you are 10 pounds or 5 pounds or 1 pound over that limit, you don't get to play. You know why? They're protecting kids. Yeah, we know.
yes, and I know where you're going to. It's this is pretty much whistleblowing. If I got that right. No, not whistleblowing. You're pretty much insensible gaslighting. You're pretty much saying you're protecting women, weak, defenseless women from very strong men in sports. No, you're not. No, you're not. You're gaslighting.
It is built into every sport that we have that has that general rule.
And I hate to step on you, but you'll have liberals say, well, then why then gender doesn't matter, weight limits. Okay, now take the weight limit and make a fat percentage, a body fat percentage differential of 15%. Yeah, women have more body fat and they have less bone density. Okay? So don't try and
Okay, but is that absolute or case by case, though? If I'm correct, that is usually the norm, but it could change depending of, I think, birth defect, or, just training your body in general. Women generally do, if I'm correct, do carry more fat. But it depends, because fat can, either you can take that fat off or put more fat in. If I'm correct, that's the type of fat we're talking about.
think that you're cutting off the past, though. I know that Trevor Noah isn't thinking that far ahead. He's a walking straw man. Yeah, he's a
Well, you're a walking straw man. That's what?
walking straw man, and he's wealthier than God, and he still hasn't gotten his hair cut because he wants to virgin signal.
Well, I mean, God doesn't need wealth. I mean, I get what he's saying. But I'm just, sorry.
Well, what I hope happens, Steven, is that the liberal says that, well, why don't you just get rid of it? I'm happy to. No women's sports, no men's sports, just sports.
Me too, but you don't want that. Crowder does not want that. Either he does, or he just doesn't want women to be in sports in general. like maybe, you know what? Give you the benefit of the doubt. Fine. Well, then why not transgenders be in sports then? Just sports then. Nope. No gender roles in a sense of a way. No labeling of it. Just sports. But why not transgenders be in sports? Because that is what you're against. So even if I gave you the benefit of the doubt, you're still going to be a hypocrite. Because you're talking about how trans people shouldn't be in women's sports.
It's the best compete. Go.
Yeah, well, you know
Sorry,
what?
that's what
But you don't want that. You don't,
You're going to have a few hip fractures.
the hip fractures. Weak woman. That's Crowder's thinking.
Not all high school athletes want to compete at the elite level, but some do. Now, Trevor Noah said that this example doesn't matter, but it does. And he also didn't tell you the whole truth about that example. Well, Kevin, at one time in Connecticut, I just don't. Look, I don't know if he doesn't actually look at the research that's presented, or if he's just a compulsive liar. I'm inclined to believe the latter.
Well, same thing for you too, Crowder. Like, come on, let's be real. You're a comedian, not a intellectual, political person. I mean, come on. Let's be real here.
One paragraph in the story that he had up there. It's in the picture.
And I know, you have multiple of studies from 2008. Sometimes. Maybe even a little bit more close to this year. Not this year in general, but, like, January 1st, or like, come on. Sometimes.
So female Connecticut high school athletes, not only are they cheated out of athletic scholarship, in Connecticut, the number 1 and 2 placing track winners were transgender male to female.
Oh wow, the horror. How is this bad? I thought you guys just wanted sports. I gave you the benefit of the doubt.
Look at that.
Wow, amazing! It's like they exist. We can't let that happen. That's their thinking.
They took the top 2 spots.
The top 2 guys. It's why is this a problem? Just men and women get better. I don't know. Trans people get better as well with sports. Like, why is this a problem? What? I don't get it. Please explain.
He used one example, but that has 2 sub-examples.
It just makes common sense.
I don't.
Trevor Noah, you don't even look at the titles of what you're presenting. Okay.
Yeah, but you're doing something even more stupid. Like, yeah, 2 trans. Yeah. And? What is the point of this?
Let's go through some other examples. I don't know if I'm pronouncing this right. I don't care. CC Tefler, Franklin University, won the NCAA championships in the women's 400-meter run, of course, as a biological male.
Well, now, was this person, like, actually like a biological male, or was this person trans? I can't tell because he doesn't really say trans that much. He might be actually saying that this person was a biological male. I don't know, but even then, it's like, I mean, I don't want like radical sports, I don't want big, strong men up against like 100-pound skinny men or women. I want at least an even playing field. One person is going to win, but at least an even playing field, obviously. But like they're,
or used to call it male. But this person claimed that their height of 6 feet was a disadvantage because it was being
Blown over.
Yeah. This isn't sailing, sweetheart. Sorry, handsome. Rachel McKinnon is the biological male. I know because it's confusing. You're like, Rachel? No, that's not a name that can go both ways. You're not wrong.
Yeah.
Won a women's cycling world championship years, but also set the world record in the trial. And here's what I want you to watch in this clip is how this Rachel McKinnon, this trans athlete, just rockets past this woman without that much effort and then takes their feet off the pedals to coast. You're like, I want to win, but not by that much because they're gonna make me, get on more hormone blockers, and I don't want to fracture my femur. So,
what? What, he was doing a Cars? Oh, sorry, this person was doing a Cars thing? How lightning kind of helped Doc out? I mean, yeah, that doesn't happen all the time, but, like, you do see some acts of kindness. It just depends if it's like, oh, I'm a better person, I gotta go help the weaker, or is it like, listen, this person needs help, I don't care if I win, this person needs help. That's what we need.
Watch this, setting the world record.
No, really, that's what we need.
On the outside lane,
Takes it into world champion.
now look,
Canada.
yeah, years of coasting.
For Rachel McKinnon as she became the first trans athlete to win a world championship in track.
Yeah. And, like, what, at the end of the day, like, what were you doing? What are you doing?
Barely managed to do it. I
Wow, this is somehow controversial. According to Crowd, okay.
The online blowback was swift that years, with people suggesting McKinnon shouldn't have been allowed to compete. Stop cheating. Enter the men's competition. During one of the tamer tweets. Others were more hateful. Yes.
Yeah, they would be more hateful. I can see it now.
More hateful. Probably from those fathers, mothers, people with sisters. Those dicks.
Ugh. The people who actually don't understand what's going on with trans people. Ugh. No, legitimately. But yeah, I get what he said. Like, yeah, I get it. But like,
I love it. He says, oh, it's only the last 15 meters. That's called strategy. That race, that's what you're supposed to do.
Set the world record too in the 35 to 39 sprint.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
2 world records now, right?
Any world
Yeah,
record.
just keep having the records.
Yeah.
World champion.
Hope you enjoy your lot, feminism.
oh yeah, he hates feminism. If you guys did know that by now.
Hannah Mounsey, and this clip is just hysterical. I don't know. Trevor Noah would never run this because, he doesn't want to. He's not aiming to be funny.
You're not aiming to be well, being funny is subjective, but still, like, come on. Look who's talking. Come on, look at the mirror. Come on.
I never meant to. We'll take your word for it. Hannah Mounsey, a biological male. A male. Hannah Mounsey, a male. Okay? Look, let's just, a male. A male who
See, Crowder's trying, okay? He's trying. He's trying to say not biological male. He's trying to say male. He's trying not to get his base to be homophobic. He's trying, quote unquote.
identifies as woman. There you go. Male, female, biological terms, but now they say he can't say biological.
I mean, he's trying his best, quote unquote.
Natal born male. I won't. A male who identifies as a woman. Right? Is that fair?
Well, you can just say trans. I don't know why it's bad. I don't know.
Because gender, sex, you said they were separate. So I can use the term. Hannah Mounsey, male, identifies as woman, was one of the Australian women's handball team top scorers. And by the way, Hannah played for the men before beating women in. By the way, is not that much of a contact sport, but when you watch it, you'll see that Hannah turns it into one. And see if you can spot the difference. There may be an advantage. I warn you, if you have small children that compete in athletics, they probably shouldn't watch this because they'll quit.
How would they quit? Okay. Ugh.
Pronouns, I thought the pronouns were third Hemsworth brother.
How is this bad? What? How are... Oh, the horror. Trans people exist. I don't... What? Please stop. I'm trying to listen. Shh. Children, we're trying to listen to the video. Please.
Hear me now!
Now, there is a debate of maybe trans people should look more as themselves and the outward appearance more than the inward. Because if a trans person is a guy with a beard, is a person who looks like a guy with a beard and this makeup, and saying that they're a woman, I'm like, yes, you might be on the inside in a sense of a way, but you gotta look outside a little bit more, obviously.
Come on. Oh, I think it's so much worse. Watch.
Like, yeah, obviously, I think, I don't think it should be like a mandate, but I think it should be, like, suggested if trans people want to be in women's and men's sports, they should look a little bit more of that title, not just for the sake of the gender title, but just for the sake of people, because people transphobes can use that and say, these people don't look human, they look men and women, it makes no sense, so, And I think most trans people would agree that you should look who you identify as, just saying that you identify as this. You should look, or at least try to look that way, and then maybe go into sports, because it might look like a threat to some people who are ignorant and homophobic. and transphobes to use that to people who don't understand trans people in general. Because some people don't, and we just need to have a conversation.
Who just bit it? Just stuffed her.
Oof.
She just stuffed her.
I, in a sense, would encourage. I wouldn't say encourage, but I would let you guys to say you should watch the clips. At least this one, especially this one, because in this one I can kind of agree. She should have been a little bit more transitional to look a little bit more of who she wants to be, not just like just not like I'm not saying I'm agreeing with Crowder. I'm just saying that like I think most trans people would agree, maybe because I'm not trans, I don't know their minds, that most trans people would agree transition more, or just transition in general before you start doing something like sports, because transphobes can weaponize that as to say that trans people are monsters, and people who are ignorant might not understand why they look like that and think it's a problem. Oh.
And it's just, this is a lie that is agreed upon, right? Where everyone just sits there and goes like, oh yeah, nah.
But at the end of the day, it still doesn't really matter. Like, you shouldn't discriminate against them. It's like, yeah, they do look off a little bit by our environments and, how we perceive and how we look. That looks a little bit different. Most people may not be able to recognize that as at first. So I'm not going to be surprised the person be like, why is that, like, but still, like, I wouldn't discriminate against them.
I got Hannah back there.
Like, I really wouldn't discriminate against them. I'll be like, yeah, I think they should transition a little bit more, but don't kick them out.
In the huddle, hey, come on, that's a foul, but, something gets a little handsy. And we all just go along with this.
Giant walks into the...
And that extreme example is all of the examples. I love how Crowder does this. I really do. It helps me.
No, I've had that. What are you suggesting?
No, but hey, here's a lady had your size. Would you like to punch her in the face?
Yeah, that's what I do. It's kind of my thing. Punch him. I punch him because we're on an equal playing field. Hannah smash.
Okay, now you're really going too far, Crowder. Come on, stop. No, really stop. You're being too childish here, but I'm not surprised, because Crowder does this a lot, so,
Well, Hannah kind of opted for a set that would fit into a sports bra. Did you notice he could go for the full rack? He's not trying.
Correct. No, he just doesn't know.
Male who identifies as woman. I think if we're going to play the gender rule, male who identifies as woman.
No, we call it transgender. We call it trans people, because that's how that works, Crowder. But again, I'm not surprised.
They get a generational pass. Yeah, I think so. He's all grandfather. A guy? What's going on? I'm confused. Where's the overlap? Dang. Right this way. Here's another one.
Another one. How many? We're not doing all of this. Okay. We're not doing all of this. Alright, I'm gonna do one of my quotes, because this is very important. At the end of the day, guys, get rid of the war on biology, I guess. Get rid of the XY chromosomes and testosterone argument. Get rid of all that. Then the argument of that trans people should not be in men's and women's sports is about fear and discrimination. That's it. Pretty much it is. Like, get rid of the records, get rid of all of that, and at the end of the day, that is literally what it is. And my other comments. Now, I'm not saying there aren't any biological differences, because they are. They're there. They are there. Differences between men and women and trans people. That is not a boundary or a wall that should be put up in something like sports. It shouldn't, depending on the sport. Of course, some of these are case by case. Depending on the sport, any woman can be stronger than any man, vice versa. Same thing with trans people. It's about training and determination. That's also it as well. Like, if you train, if you're determined to be the best, while also just being the best that you can be in general, and then some, you'll have a good sporting life. Another comment that I have is, I'm not saying that there aren't any advantages in any cases of sports in general. You're always going to have somebody stronger or weaker than you. But you don't let that stop you from becoming your best and then some. That's true. You always gotta have some people who are smarter or less smarter than you. Doesn't mean you just don't be more intellectual. Be more intellectual. And just be the smartest that you can be and then some, if you can. In general.
An intern right now, and she... Yeah,
I thought it was, they're called
no, that's a thing. No, it's a real thing. Don't make fun. We don't want to
I'm not
like
making
a
fun.
different community. Hey, by the way, can we bring Lily in here? Lily works for, she's an intern right now, and she...
This is important, guys. This is very important.
That was very high level. She ran into this. Lily, if we could bring...
It is sad they bring the innocent to do the dirty deed, but anyways...
Put her on the spot. Lily, come here. How far are you? So she...
It is kind of a little bit adorable. Like, she's innocent, guys. Don't go after her. She's innocent. She didn't know what she was going... She didn't know. I don't think she actually knew what's going on. Like, look at the full clip, guys. Look at the full clip. It starts somewhere near, like, 57 or 58. Somewhere there. Trust me. Or 59.
Oh, okay, Lily, come on in here and sit in the red chair. Thank you. So, you sit right here, right? The red chair? Red chair. All right, Lily, this is your first time on the show. How's it? The light's bright? A little bit bright. Okay. Lily is adorable, by the way. And she's not available because, well, listen, she works long hours.
And it's sad that he has to say that to his audience. This person seems to, or this girl, because she is a girl, like, yeah, or this person, to say this person. I don't really care in that case. That's a different debate. Anyways, this person seems to be like 16, and it's sad that he has to say, well, she's not for sale in a sensible way. He pretty much said that, like, no.
Keep it that way. So, Lily, you ran cross country, right? Okay, so you ran cross country and you were pretty fit. What was your rank?
I was the fastest on my team my senior year.
Okay, but then you had a particular individual who identified as female. So this person ran as explain the background. She ran as a competed.
So competed on the boys team because it wasn't allowed at that point, but would talk about how they were the fastest girl on the team. To me.
Really? Oh, yeah. And how did that make you feel? Okay. Well, that's, you know what, thank you, Lily.
Thank you. This one person, this says it all. Again, she's innocent. Don't go after her, guys. That will not be right in general. Don't do that, guys. Don't do that.
What a piece of shit. I know, right? Yeah. He's competing with the boys and he's like, I'm the fastest girl in the school. I can't say anything. No, but female to male will always be an inferior male, always. And going the other way will always be a superior female physically. It is just the way it is. All right?
Yeah, but why are you against trans people? Like, okay. Maybe I think I did oops, guys. I generally do not let names to just go out. So again, do not dox or go after her. I was meant to not let Crowder mention her name because, I don't, just in case. Like, again, no. She is actually innocent. Don't, like, seriously. But, there's why I'm talking about this, because, again, we're at a climate where we just had an insurrection, essentially, in January. If you don't make things, sure, you don't know what could happen. We're in a climate in that case. So that's why I'm talking about that to my audience. But, what Crowder said there, it was like, you had to say that to your audience? Really? She looked 16. Or the person looked 16. So, like, you had to say that? Anyways.
North Carolina is going to make its school employees snitch on kids anytime that they don't, quote, conform to their gender? What does that even mean? Conforming to your gender? Like, I caught up late with the other boys in school. Now what? You're telling me that if I was in the system today, my gym teacher would be on the phone with my mom?
It's cute. He's acting like he caught up.
You were to report people who don't have COVID passports, just to be clear. Yeah. It's like, what does that even mean? Conform to your gender. Are you that stupid or are you that bad at playing stupid? It's pretty clear. Are you a boy or a girl? We want you to
Okay, no, sorry. No, can't let that slide. Hold up.
Number 3, unless you want to be sauced out of your mind, in which case, enjoy being body slammed by Brock Lesnar. Or Hannah, whatever, handball player. Yeah. Same difference. There's no such thing as conforming to your gender. Well, and by the way, I have to be really same.
Oh, if you guys hear some background, that's just part of my family doing something. I think they're cooking right now, so just to tell you, if you hear some background, that's usually because of that.
There's no such thing as conforming to your gender. Well, and by the way, I have to be really careful to even talk about this on YouTube because of the policies. That's a little bit of mug club afterwards. So, in place of that, I present to you this next video of beautiful, great Caitlyn Jenner without comment. Tick-tock on the clock, but the party don't stop. She's lived different. You build me up, you bring me down. What's happening? My heart is bouncing, you got me.
No one knows.
Put your hands up. Everybody put your hands up.
Sorry, that's a meme. Sorry, I'm not against Caitlyn Jenner really, but it looks like a meme. I'm sorry. That doesn't mean I'm agreeing with transphobic Crowder because Caitlyn Jenner's transgender, therefore this is bad. I'm saying this is memeable because it is. Trans or no trans, this is a meme. I'm sorry. Why, Crowder? Why?
Here's another Trevor Noah clip saying that it is sexist, transphobic, all the things The Walking Dead.
It's not just transphobic, it's also sexist and everything else.
Ah!
Because these Republicans act like all they care about is the health and well-being of the kids.
Kind of do.
They kind of give the game away when they start adding on stuff that's basically just, and don't play with dolls, we'll tell it.
Hold on a second. You just said that there's no such thing as conforming to your gender. How could anything be sexist?
Oh my gosh. Oh no. This is one of my comments. Quote unquote Crowder. If you can't conform to gender, how can anything be sexist? Me. The answer is in the question. Sex is different from gender. You're sexist because you're discriminating against some person's biological trait of sex. And also their gender. We just say sexist because it's kind of implied that there are some people who are against some people just because of their sex and gender. Because they're a woman and they have, and they have biological woman body parts. Therefore, they're not good somehow. Pretty much like they discriminate against them just on the basis of that. Crowder, come on! I know you're a conservative, I know you're a comedian, but come on!
How does that work?
Okay.
I don't understand, and not to mention...
Well, at least he's telling the truth. He doesn't understand anything. I think we can all agree. I think even Crowder could agree that he doesn't really know that much of anything. I think we could all agree to there. Common ground here. Common ground.
The whole premise of modern gender theory, which, by the way, starting to go back to Steve John Mike talked about this. All the sources available at RadioInsider.com. It still started with the idea of two genders. It started with the idea that sex is biological and some people exist on a spectrum. However, it's based on the idea that someone can be born with the wrong brain in the wrong body.
Well, we have studies of this. We know this by multiple studies and data that, that's what gender dysphoria is. We don't call it an illness because that is discriminating, and that's kind of undermining what's going on to the trans person and to the trans kids. That's why we sometimes let them take puberty blockers. And I'm going to get more into that later on when we get more into that particular conversation. Just to tell you guys, puberty blockers is not what the conservative propagandists want you to think. It's not what they think that it is. It's much more it's a lot more simpler and sometimes complicated. And I understand not everybody can do it, but just type in puberty blockers PDF or about puberty blockers. The research I got was from ohcu.edu and seattlechildrens.org. And the anti-trans or the transphobic bill, the Arkansas bill, you can find that on arkleg.state.ar.us. And about that bill more, if you at least have time for that, I would encourage you to go to acluarkansas.org and nyu.edu. Those are the sites that I've studied for puberty blockers and how they work and how the law against it is wrong and bad in general. So, yeah.
Someone with a female brain is born into a male body, or someone with a male brain born into a female body. So how can you force that as the premise, right? Thrust it upon society as a lie that people agree upon, and then say, by the way,
how's that a lie? Okay.
There are no differences between a male and female body. Well, then how could you be in the wrong body?
Okay. See, Crowder, you have to look at this in a logical, intellectual, field. You're not in that, so I am not surprised you don't understand what we are saying. At that time, at the end of the day, most people, at least me, and some people on the left, are not saying disregard men and women. We're saying for some trans people, and being trans usually, in some cases, means non-binary. Sometimes it's just, you're transitioning into what you are, in general. But anyways, in a sense of a way. Pretty much in general, what we say is that their brain is in the wrong body. We don't necessarily say the male brain is in a female body. Most people, when they're saying, when they're explaining gender dysphoria to people, we usually do not tend to say that, because, we're not, because that could be used in a bad way. So we usually say that their brain is in the wrong body, or they feel that in this case, their female brain, because they identify as female, is in a male body. In some cases, we do say that. But usually you say gender dysphoria is usually saying that the brain is pretty much saying that they are in the wrong body, or they're not in the right place. In general. And the best way, for what we know now, and in general, the best way to treat that in a sense of a way is to put the brain in the right body. For some people, for some kids, trans kids, we do puberty blockers, which pretty much says time out puberty. We're going to wait to see if this kid who turns into an adult, we want to see if they want to transition. It's a yearly, this process takes years of the therapy to see if your kid is gender dysphoric. Then if they are, they might recommend puberty blockers or puberty pausers, because it's really pausing the puberty, not blocking it for all eternity. That's the other myth, conservative transphobic myth, is that puberty blockers are permanent, even though they're not. When you stop taking them, your normal puberty starts to come back. if you haven't transitioned. This is just pausing the puberty to see if the kid who's going to turn into an adult, if they want to transition. As in, they don't take the puberty blocker and then the kid is like, we want to transition. Nobody is saying they should transition. What we're saying is we should pause the puberty until they're the right age, like, if I'm correct, the age of 18, 20, so they're an adult, and if they want to transition, they don't have to take 2 puberties. They don't have to do 2 experiences of puberty. Because if I'm correct, that does higher the stress of a trans person, and I think it makes the suicide rate higher, because taking 2 puberties seems to be very hard. Taking 1 is hard enough, but taking 2, I can't experience that. I don't know how that's like. I would want a pause on my puberty so I wouldn't need to go through 2 if I want to transition. That is basically what puberty... Sometimes people use puberty blockers or puberty pausers, as I say, to kids who their puberty is, I think, like if a kid's not a trans kid, but just a kid in general, if their puberty is going too fast, they use puberty blockers or puberty pausers to pause that puberty to make sure that their puberty is not going further than it should. So there is that. We're going to get into his guest, and in this case, this person is famous, so again, just in general, do not dox or go after them, and I just want to talk about this person in general, because it's very important that I see this man. It's very important to talk about this man in general, so...
Now, on Twitter, Jason Whitlock, are you there, sir?
I am there. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, and look at that. That's wonderful. I'm glad to have you on. I'm sorry that we ran late. When we start talking about puberty blockers for children, I get a little riled up.
Yes, because you don't know anything about it. Anyways.
I don't blame you. I don't get it as a former athlete, and I don't get why women aren't more outraged about this. Just
how
parents and mothers, it's an unfair competition.
Somehow.
How many kids are we even talking about, too, as it relates to... how many kids are transgender or want to change sex?
Transgender kids, I think they're 2 point something, but they still matter. What, we're just gonna do percentages now? You're just gonna do percentages now? Let's see if this person's valuable. Well, according to this, they're only 1.5 of the population. Nah, we don't care about them. Yeah, that can lead to fascistic things if I'm correct. Anyways.
Well, now it used to be 0.6, and now it's over 2% in schools.
Oh no, the horror. Why is this a problem?
It skyrocketed. There were actually more kids who identified as transgender than have ever identified as lesbian. So that brings in the...
And again, how is that? I don't understand. Okay.
Nurture argument, where it's why would there be this skyrocketing number of them? And we don't have a lot of them competing in women's sports now in the past, but it looks like, every women's record probably be gone pretty soon.
Well, how? Okay.
I agree with the solution of just a transgender league.
Now, transgender league, that's not bad. Okay, that's not necessarily bad, like transgender bathrooms, but the problem is, it's kind of... I don't say it's like Jim Crow, but, I mean, if you pretty much understand, that is kind of separation between, I guess, who they are. Saying that, I mean, being honest, it's not necessarily bad, unless if you're doing it for a good cause. If it seems like it's pretending to be a problem to protect the trans people, maybe we have to do trans sports or transgender bathrooms if it gets that ugly. But that could be a good debate on it. It depends. But anyways.
Yeah.
And
a steroid league. Because if you have someone who's transgender on testosterone, then anyone there should be able to take whatever they want.
But you see, it is I wouldn't say very Jim Crow, but it is kind of like, separation. Let them do their own thing, which would be isolational, which I don't think we would want, which could be offensive and discriminatory. So if you think of it like that as well, that's why I think, again, I don't think we need transgender sports or bathrooms. But I mean, if it got that ugly, sadly, then maybe. But I don't think we really need it.
Just let the games begin. I mean, let me ask you this.
And again, one of them literally said we shouldn't just do labeling sports as women or men. We should just let it be sports. So why are you separating trans people? Again, really hypocritical. You're saying that, well, that was just one person. I don't know if Crowder himself thinks that's the case, but if he does, why are you being hypocritical? Again, it's all about, so if you generally just want sports to be sports, then why are you excluding transgenders? Why do you want them to have their own league and maybe even their own bathroom? What is it that is so bad about trans people? He's never going to say it because he's a coward. Or he will say it on Mud Club.
Yes, you played obviously Division I ball, and that's a contact sport. You showed some clips of a male identifying as a woman playing handball and just face bombing kids. When you were playing football, there were some people, I'm sure, that were open secrets who had used performance enhancing drugs, right?
Yes.
And could you sense that difference? I know when I've just done even local grappling tournaments, and there's someone you've been up against, and then 6 months later, you go, this is not the same person. It was drastic.
It was.
And I like how they're comparing drugs with transgenders. Kind of. I think they are kind of comparing them. Okay, that makes sense.
Because I played in the 80s. I'm old, but because I was strong, the strongest guy on our team.
Yeah.
And so I really didn't care what the other guys did because it was a non-issue for me. Strength was not something I struggled with. Eating was something I struggled with, but not strength. But it was funny. The coaches actually favored the steroid users over someone like me. I was a bit of a locker room lawyer, and I can remember it. A very good friend of mine. I was the bench press was the big deal, and whoever could bench the most was the big deal. Your picture was up in the locker room in a prominent place, and the coaches hated me so much that they let someone else retest months later after he did a steroid cycle, and he broke my record. They put his picture up immediately. I didn't care. The guy was a friend of mine, played different positions, but
Wow.
there's.
Well, Gerald here, he played football at Notre Dame, and he's so glib, he didn't think that people took steroids. So,
They made Joe here.
they do that? They take steroids? Yeah. He knew a guy, he was like, this guy was 275 with 6% body fat, ripped, and no steroids. I'm like, are you out of your mind? I'm on off the beat path. Now, Jason, are you back on Twitter? I know you were suspended. Are you allowed back now?
Yeah, they suspended me on Friday, and then they let me back in on Tuesday.
But I don't think it was that tweet or that comment that he made. Oh boy, I looked up on this person, alright. Oh boy, you just type in Whitlock controversies and you'll find out maybe why that would be more considered as a band than what he did here, and I'll say it. His tweet is saying, quote, Black Lives Matter founder buys 1.4 million home in Topanga. Yeah, I think I'm saying that right. Which has a black population of 1.4%. She's with her people. I don't get it. Why would that be banned? But not the other stuff that he said. Either it is the stuff that he actually said that was really bad and stupid and just sad and stupid. But this, I don't think he was banned for this. I don't know how he would be banned for He also says at the top, never apologize to those static MFers. Never. Stand your ground, stand on truth. I mean, it is stupid, but I don't think just because somebody does something stupid or says something stupid, they should be banned, okay? But, like, yeah, again, there's a lot of other... Oh, boy, I've looked up on this person enough. Alright, to look up at the controversies of Jason Whitlock, there's sportscasting.com and Thievered. These okay. There's sportscasting, sportscasting.com, and then there's thefers.com. Thefers.com. It's TheVersed.com. That's where I found the best controversies, or I wouldn't say best, but I would say most, not surprise controversies about Jason Whitlock. He said a lot of bad stuff and stupid stuff there. Again, I think you should check it out. I think it's very important. But again, do not dox or go after Jason Whitlock or anybody. And yeah, let's continue.
They said that I reached out to them. I did not reach out to them. I just think they got beaten up so bad by people raising the question, like, why the hell did you do this to this guy? That they folded and sent me an apology.
And for people who don't know, the tweet question that resulted in it, from what we know, is he tweeted that the Black Lives Matter founder bought a $1.4 million home in Topanga, which has a black population of 1.4%. And then you add a little sting to it saying she's with her people, which I appreciate. And that,
of course you do,
got you into trouble. I mean, look, this is something you've spoken out quite a bit with Black Lives Matter, and I know
you spoke a lot with a lot of other things. Oh boy.
that you've been in media for a long time. What is how most people reacted to you in this industry?
All people in the sports media lane and just in the media in general are scared to death of Black Lives Matter. They're scared to death of any type of Twitter lynch mob coming after them and criticizing them. You don't want to be on the wrong side of this argument because they'll paint you as either racist or a sellout to black people. And so everybody avoids the truth. Everybody knows the Black Lives Matter movement is not about black men.
Well, it is. Like, literally the beginning of the BLM movement was addressing how cops were killing unarmed black people and how it wasn't justified. That was really what the movement was. But anyways.
George Floyd, Rayshard Brooks, Jacob Blake. It's an LGBTQ agenda.
How did you, why? Is this man insane? It's an LGBTQ agenda. Let that sink in. This person, please. Maybe he shouldn't be on social media. I'm not saying he should be banned. I'm just saying, wait. You think BLM was by LGBTQ people? Like, what? 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 Are you okay, sir?
Black Lives Matter. The whole black men thing is just a smokescreen. It was founded by 3 LGBT women.
I know it's hard for me to remember the acronyms too.
Because you don't care. Yes.
Alphabet Mafia.
Yes, the alphabet.
Of course you call it that, of course. That, again, what? So just because it was founded on, I guess, lesbian women, I guess? Yeah, Crowder hates lesbians. I'm not surprised, but...
Mafia is in control of social media.
Are they, though?
Twitter. Jack Dorsey has stated, I think in the interview with Joe Rogan, he stated Twitter's there to amplify certain voices. Right?
Well, of course, it's a It's a company.
The alphabet mafia is the voice that they have amplified.
Sure.
And,
Quote unquote.
you know, I've just been very critical because it's all been a hustle. It's all been about money. It's all been about agendas outside police brutality. Yeah. And it's all
Sure.
been a
Quote
distortion
unquote.
of the truth because police brutality, and I say this having lost a close relative cousin that I helped raise was killed by police in 2012
And that is sad. That is sad.
in Indianapolis. I actually understand the injustice of police brutality, but it's greatly overblown in America. That there's 50 million, 100 million engagements police have with our citizens.
Yes, but that's not the point. The point is the most famous ones are about innocent, usually innocent black people killed unjustifiably by police. That is the problem. The problem isn't that it's all the time. The problem is that it's so much. Some people, and even I, can't name them all at the top of my head because there's been so much. I mean, if I remembered a lot more, I could. And, like, I'm not saying that this doesn't happen to white people. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying that, I mean,
And a very tiny percentage of them spin out of control and lead to someone die. You know, people
but somehow that doesn't matter.
often
Okay.
talk about like white privilege and stuff like that. And the issue here is obviously identifying people exclusively by their race is the problem. But I will say something here as a white person. I do feel a privilege, and I talked with someone about this to change my mind, where I have not, as a white man, no one says you have to fit into this specific box. In other words, when I'm a kid, I can listen to metal, I can listen to hip hop, I can listen to country, and no one says you're not white enough. In other words, I had a black friend who was an Iron Maiden fan, and his friend said, like, man, you're not black. And I go, oh, that's not something I really experienced. And you get that in the media too.
In some cases, but I mean, it's on both sides. He's not necessarily wrong. There is some tribalism in the black community, but again, it's Crowder speaking, so it's usually lying, or it's not really telling the truth, or if it's a half-truth or a half-lie. But generally speaking, Crowder is not a good source at all about that, anyways.
Where it's, you don't have the right opinions as black. And what's interesting is the overwhelming majority of black Americans want at least as much or more police presence than they currently have in their communities. And we've been talking about this, and I go to a church that's mixed. I feel, and I know a lot of the black people there, even though they're Christians, they vote Democrat, but I feel a lot more comfortable around black Democrats. We have more in common than the white Democrats right now. It's almost like black.
Yeah, I wonder why. It's because most black Democrats have a bad view on LGBTQIA plus people and other things, but they still kind of are for it, but they're not for it, but they'll actually fight for the right to have that. I wouldn't say that, but you know what I mean. Most people in the black community in general, depending, especially in the South, don't really like LGBTQ people for some weird reason. But we can talk about that later on. But again, Crowder really does not have any place to really talk about that as well.
Democrats, if you look at the actual representation in America, as opposed to who's speaking in the media, they're the moderate wing of the Democratic Party. Your views that you're talking about right now are far more representative, statistically, poll after poll, of the average black American than the talking head on CNN. Why isn't white people on Twitter removing you for having the wrong black opinion?
Because, Stephen, and this is just the truth, and I'm sorry anybody gets offended by it, the white liberal is the actual out-of-the-closet big liberal, is the direct descendant, mentally, and world point of view as it relates to race, the direct descendant of slave owners, and
How are they? Please tell me how. Actually, the conservatives are like the slave owners. Like,
they believe that black is a special category of human being
I mean, every race is a special category in a sense of like when it comes to culture. I mean, I'm just saying.
Your freedom. And that's what they believed in 1600. That's what these white liberals believe now. And that's why they
Yes, there's no difference at all, of course.
want to capitalize.
One didn't want to, it's not like one wanted to enslave them, and one wants them to be more free according to their liberal opinion. No, there's no difference.
And black,
Quote unquote.
we're a special category of human beings. And so we want to designate them over here, and they can only think one way. And just as you said, we're the only people that have no political freedom. Because if we, and again, I'm a non-voter, and I tend to abhor politics and politicians on both sides. I have, in recent years, just like discovered, like, man, this white liberal thing, this is pure racism.
Yes.
Yes, the conservatives are not the racists. They don't say anything that does undermine black people, or they say according to statistics, black people are bad, so therefore just watch out, Asians. We'll get into that later on as well. Like, yeah, that doesn't happen. No, it's the liberals who are honestly trying to say they know everything about black people, even though they don't. Anyways.
Pure racism on the other side. But as black people, again, if you think any conservative thought, if you stay true to what you were taught in the church, oh my God, you throw black people out. And I just refuse to do that. I would rather have groupthink and social media think I'm a sellout of my skin color than to think I'm a sellout of Jesus Christ.
I have comments about that one. And one of my comments is, I mean, if you're with Crowder, you're already a sellout to the black community. Same thing with pretty much the USO of ripoffs. Pretty much the political conservative version of the USOs at the end of the day. Ripoffs. Like, they sell out black people. Like, come on, black people do this. Candace Owens is also one of them. I'm sorry, but you're already a sellout to black people, but you don't have to be Jason Whitlock. You don't have to be. You can come back. You can be sane, okay? You can, and also another one, quote unquote, Jason Whitlock. This is not actually Jason Whitlock talking, quote unquote Jason Whitlock says, I'd rather be a sellout to black people than to be a sellout to Jesus Christ. Me. You're already a sellout to Jesus Christ and Christianity. If you're with Crowder and agreeing with him, you're already against Christianity, my friend. But again, you don't have to be. You can come back to Christ before it's too late, Jason Whitlock. Like, come on. And repent of your stupid comments. I think about one of them was about women, the other one I think also was about women as well. But again, not surprised. Crowder is sexist. This person seems to be sexist as well. Like, I'm not surprised at this point.
I'm going to stand on careful. Jesus Christ, now you're getting into Western civilization and patriarchy. You have to be careful.
No, you're getting into lies about being like a sexist. Like, that's what you're doing.
I'm a patriarch.
Yeah, you are.
Well, that makes sense. You know what? That makes sense. Crowder, Jason Whitlock, that makes sense. You are being patriarchal. I fully agree. We have common ground. Finally, we can say that they are absolutely sexist. Because that's what part of patriarchy is.
That's also one thing too. I will say it's this unholy alliance because when you look at like liberals and talk about the patriarchy, I go, do you understand that in the black community, like gender roles are way more clearly defined?
In a sensible way, yes, but that doesn't mean that the black community is bad. We just need to address, some problems that in the black community we do have, like very strict gender roles. So that needs to be addressed and debated about. Yeah, I mean, it is kind of true. Yes, it's mind control. See, I like how the Candace Owens is the ex-blacks pretty much of the black community are like, we're the free thinkers. We voted for Trump. We're the free thinkers, quote unquote. But free thinkers who are black, but yet they're Democrat. Though they're in the second Democrat plantation. They need to come out of that one. They're brainwashed by the white liberals out there. But no, we're not brainwashed by Trumpism. We're good. We just voted for Trump. We're fine. We still love black people as they tilt their head very creepily, like we're still blacks, right? I work at Harvard. Like, I'm sorry, like, you're not gonna find me on that one, my dude. Like, now, I'm not saying every black person who voted for Trump is crazy or brainwashed by Trump. No. That would be a weird conspiracy theory by some leftists. No. from some radical leftists. No. I'm not saying that, no. I'm just saying, like, if a black person voted for Trump, I would really want to know why. I would actually really want to know why.
What you can do as a black person is hate Donald Trump. That's how you prove that you're black. And
oh no. It's a lot of other things, but I'm just kidding. We also gotta snap out of this Democrat plantation nonsense as well.
the number one thing you can do as a black person is be responsible for yourself. And
True, but that doesn't mean you just ignore something that is systemic. Just because it's systemic doesn't mean that you can't overcome it. There's a lot of people who overcame systemic things. Martin Luther King. They defied the system. They were against that really systematically racist thing. So you can't overcome it, but it doesn't mean you just ignore it. Anyways.
responsible for whatever you create on this planet. And that's how, but they just, you know, you gotta hate Donald Trump, you gotta think all white people and Republicans are your enemy, and none of
Republicans are the enemy of black people. I'm sorry, like that is kind of a little bit true. But not all white people. And again, this is the radical left, but again, I'm not surprised.
about the man in the mirror. It's always about someone outside who's in control of your life, and it drives me crazy.
I mean, Jesus Christ controls our lives in a sense. Like, you always have somebody helping you out. Not necessarily controlling your life like a puppet master, but like the government kind of controls some parts of your life. God, in some cases, controls some parts of your life. In a good way for God, and for government, it could be for good or for bad. Like,
sit and laugh, and I'm listening to you talk about the church you go to and being mixed race, and it confirms the thought that I had about you, just following you and your show and the controversy from afar.
again, Crowder is not a Christian, nor is Jason Whitlock. I'm sorry, like, let's be real.
Is because in your actual life, you don't live a racist life, and so it makes you more fearless in your public job on this show. Where
So, his job, he's racist, but outside of his job, he isn't. Which that might be the case. Maybe, again, Crowder is just faking. He's just doing this just because. I mean, again, he has, like, literally 5.46 million subscribers. So, like, maybe this is just all just a thing. But yet, even then, even if this is all just made up and, you know, outside of Wilder's Crowder is a great person, then why aren't you a good person on the internet? Well, why does it have to be two things? Just for power and being a corporate shield, pretty much? I don't think shield is a bad word here. Well, what?
the people that are doing all the social gimmicks and virtue signaling, if you go examine their real life, it's not as diverse, it's not as inclusive as your life.
No, not at all. Here's the thing: the left believes that race identifies every facet of human being,
no, but again, I'm like, maybe some, but okay.
Stephen, in 1984, my senior year in high school, me and my dad were dirt poor. We lived in a one-bedroom, 400 square foot apartment in the ghetto. So nobody can convince me, and trust 2.8 grade point average, I was a pretty good football player, but no one can convince me that there's these barriers that we can't overcome as poor black people if we just try. And I'm so irate with the people who are telling, don't even try, you have no shot.
Don't get
You can't do anything without us or the government.
Though I will try and convince you because I think
See, I get what he's saying, because he's a guy who was from the ground and he went up. And I get it. I think same thing with Candace Owens and other black people and black conservatives. They're like, there isn't any of it because we did, and that's the problem. You guys did it. But there are many other black people who are homeless. And just, like, you got to look at anecdotal and data-driven evidence in general. And just because you made it doesn't mean that most black people make it. What I'm saying, what some people are saying, that there are some systemic things, and we're just trying to make it easier for for black people and people in general to have a better life, because there are some boundaries and barriers. But that doesn't mean I'm just gonna not do anything. I am gonna do something. I'm gonna make sure that, that I be the best I can be, and then some. And if it seems like I can't, which is for some black people due to sometimes systemic racism, sometimes we should address it and do something about it.
you may still be eligible to play women's college football. And that could be fun. Gerald here, who played at Notre Dame. He has a question for you.
Hey, real quick, if you want to dedicate your life to Christ, aka get saved, or if you're a backslider and want to rededicate your life to Christ, or if you want the baptism of the Holy Spirit with the evidence of speaking with tongues, those prayers are in the description down below. Have a good one.